Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another installment of the Red Shadow's favorite TV shows. And I don't know what's taken me this long, even since the last one, to do this. I've been ready to do it forever. Motivation, I guess, just is the normal thing. Just couldn't motivate myself to get up here and do it. But anyway, that's besides the point, really. It's kind of a typical thing for me, is to lament the fact that I don't get these out as timely as I want to. But anyway, let's move on and jump right on in, because this is a particular favorite show of mine that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time. And that show is Firefly. Hopefully, most of the people who watch any of my stuff are aware that this show existed. But if you're not, then allow me to tell you a little bit about it and tell you why I love it so much. And I want to start off with a very bold statement. If this show had actually been allowed to run its course and have a long television life, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons or longer perhaps, I can tell you with almost 100% assuredness, this would have probably been my favorite show of all time. It's that good, it's that enjoyable, it's that amazing. The people in it are that phenomenal in bringing this universe to life, that had it been allowed to go longer than the 14 episodes and one movie that came from it, this probably would have taken down Star Trek, Lost, and the X-Files for sure. And like I said, I love those shows to death. I love this show to death. It just needed to have gone longer than 14 episodes. Anyway, here is Firefly. This is my DVD set of the complete series. It has the 4 slim cases in it with all 14 episodes and extras. This is my collector's edition version of Serenity, which is the movie. Sorry about all the glare that I'm picking up there. And I'll explain kind of what this is all about in a few minutes, but there's the back. There's a piece that went over the back that's inside the case. It had the barcode and all that stuff on it. And because I love this show so much, and because it's cheap, because it's only 14 episodes and a movie, it's viable for me to also own the complete series on Blu-ray and the limited edition Serenity Steelbook Blu-ray with the couple of discs in there and all that. So let's talk about Serenity, its short lifespan, and the people in it, and just like why I love it so much. Firefly was a show that debuted on Fox, and I believe it was in 2001 or 2002. 2002. And almost from the get-go, in my like research of the show from the past, because this was not a show I knew anything about back in 2002 when it was airing. But from what I've been able to read and pick up from the story about it, is that it was almost doomed from the start. First of all, it was on Fox. And unless, well, I'm not even going to say unless, because the show that I identify the most with Fox these days is Family Guy. Fox canceled Family Guy twice before they actually let it run its course, and it still goes today. The X-Files was on Fox, of course, and went unimpeded for 9 seasons. Married with Children was a Fox synonymous show that went 5 or 6 seasons, or maybe longer, I don't know, but it was like back in the 80s and early 90s. But it seemed like mid-90s and on, and especially in the 2000s, if a show was on Fox, it was almost doomed from the beginning. They just did not give shows a chance. They didn't let them capture an audience. Firefly has such an amazing audience behind it. They're known as the Brown Coats. They fought really, really hard. In fact, it was the fans who enabled the DVD to be released in the first place, and also enabled the Serenity movie to be greenlit so that Joss Whedon, who was the creator of the show, and if you're not aware of who Joss Whedon is, just think the Avengers, because he's the one who directed the Avengers. But he was known back in the day for things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer TV show, Firefly, and I'm sure a lot of other stuff that I'm not thinking of. Dollhouse, I think, was that newer show that he did with Eliza Dushku in it. But Firefly, to me, was just an amazing concept that had probably been done before somewhere in a movie, a game, a comic book or something. But I'd never seen anything like it on TV show. It was the perfect amalgamation of Western and sci-fi put together into a very cohesive and easy to believe universe. It's a universe several hundred years into the future. Eventually the world had some sort of like another world war, and the only superpowers that came out of it in any kind of with any kind of legs to stand on was the United States of America and China. And so over those years the two societies kind of merged, and that's why you would get characters in the show who looked very Caucasian, who would also cuss in Chinese, and just, I don't know. I don't know how else to better explain it than that. I just think it was a very nice touch that they did a lot of times when they would cuss. Instead of saying something tame or just not cussing at all, they would cuss in Chinese. But I guess the reason why things sort of developed into a Western style civilization, especially amongst those who were traveling, in the galaxy, was that they had the ability, the money, the resources or whatever, to put together something so they could travel out there. But once they were out there in the verse, they maybe didn't have the resources necessary to look like some sort of sophisticated technology. The ships were kind of, travel and battle war. The clothes were simplistic. It was, like I said, it was like they took the cast of Bonanza and threw them on another planet and gave them a spaceship instead of horses to ride. And yet, even when they're on planets, there are times when they ride horses. There are times when they look and feel and act very much like something out of a Western. My opinion, my thoughts on Westerns have always been, I'm not a super big fan, especially of what I call the very American, very white bread, stuff like John Wayne and stuff like Jimmy Stewart, and I don't know, just Bonanza, for example, as far as TV shows go, Big Valley. It's a lot of those old Western shows that were very much from a United States look today at what was going on 100 or 200 years ago back in the prairie. When I like to watch a Western, when I like to see Westerns, I like the spaghetti Westerns. I like stuff directed by Sergio Leone. I'm not saying that I've watched a lot of them. Once Upon a Time in the West is one of my favorite movies. I will definitely be talking about that movie someday. I would love to see the Man with No Name trilogy starring Clint Eastwood. But those characters in those are a lot more entertaining and intriguing to watch. And I felt like Firefly's version of the West was a little more like that. More gunslingers, more bad guys, more, well, like in the movie, Malcolm Reynolds, played by Nathan Fillion, who, this is my first of two shows that star him that are on my list. He is somebody who's up there like with David Duchovny as far as like how much I enjoy their work and how much of a man crush that I have on him. Nathan Fillion, for me, can't do anything wrong. I'll watch anything that he's in and I will enjoy it. He did another much shorter-lived Fox TV show back about 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago called Drive. And it was sort of like a Cannonball Run / Smokey and the Bandit kind of thing, like racing across the country in cars and all that. And it only got 6 episodes that were filmed, and only 4 were ever shown on Fox. And I've been dying for them to slap those 6 episodes together for $10 on a DVD. I would buy it. I would jump on it. It was a great show, and he was great in it. He's amazing in Firefly as Malcolm Reynolds. And anyway, I got off my train of thought there for a moment, but in the show, he and his entire crew are basically like smugglers. They pretend, or they put up a front that's, well, we transport items and people across the galaxy for money, and and that it's a legitimate upfront business, but actually behind the scenes they'll smuggle anything, they'll take stuff that they need, it can be sold somewhere, anything to live, anything to survive. That's what they're out there for. And that kind of forms the basis of the show. But the overlying storyline, in my opinion, it can be seen very, very well in Serenity's, the covers of Serenity. Here, this is River, and this is River here on the front. River and her doctor brother Simon. Gosh, I hope I'm remembering that right, because it has been a little while since I've watched all this. I'm supposed to be watching the show with a friend of mine who may see this video at some point. I'm ready, man. I'm definitely ready. But I believe her brother's name is Simon, and he's a doctor, and he's trying to smuggle her away from the force, the main force in the universe, in this universe that like the government, I guess you would say, over, or kind of like Starfleet Academy, but maybe a little bit on the shady side. And they want her because she has some special abilities that would be very important to them. He wants to save his sister because he loves her, and he doesn't want her to be tortured and experimented on. And he secures Malcolm Reynolds' ship, which is called Serenity, which is where the name comes from. And it's a Firefly class vessel, which is where the name of the show comes from. And this is the ship here on the front, the Serenity. Just to get away from the planet that they were on. And he doesn't let them know that his sister is actually in a container, and somehow or another she gets undone from her sleep, sort of like a cryogenic sleep or something like that. And all of a sudden everybody on the ship realizes that they're now smuggling a human being. And things happen, and they decide to let Simon and River stay on board the ship. And then they go on, these episodic adventures, some of which have nothing to do with that storyline, just to do with the storyline of everybody else on the ship. And do their smuggling runs and butt heads with other people in the verse. True bad guys. Like, these are smugglers, so they're like Han Solo. It's like Han Solo did bad things, for his business and for his livelihood, but in the end, you still love Han Solo, and you still love everybody who's a part of the crew of the Serenity and the cast of Firefly. And that's what I love about it. It's the characters. The stories are good, but once again, it's another show where the characters are who shine through the most. And everybody on this show was amazing. And they, like I said, they only had 14 episodes and a movie to really shine through. And the movie kind of puts a major period at the end of the Firefly sentence, and kind of makes it to where the chances of there ever being anything else in the Firefly verse kind of hard to swallow, because a few important cast members die in the movie. That's a spoiler, I should probably say that, but then again, if you're watching this and you've watched any of my other videos, you know I'm going to probably spoil things a little bit. I'm not going to say who, though. But after the movie is done, things are kind of wrapped up with a tidy little bow. A couple of the characters are dead. So if they ever came back to this and they decided to continue chronologically, you'd have to go without a couple important and popular characters. I've always said, bring them all back, whether it's a movie or a continuation of the TV series, and pick up after the end of the series. before the events of the movie. There's got to be some wiggle room, at least a couple of seasons worth. This is fantasy, TV show management here, and it's not going to ever happen. I don't really feel like we're ever going to get more movies, more TV show of Firefly, but it's always fun to wish, I guess. But it was, I don't know, it was a great show. It's only 14 episodes in a movie. This is the best selling point I feel like I have to anybody. I paid like $20 for this recently. A good 7 or 8 years ago, I paid $15 or $20 for the DVD. The movies aren't going to cost you more than $10 to $20. It's a really small investment for something that most people, I fear, will just end up really loving it. Also, it may be on Netflix, or it may have other means online that you could watch it, stream the episodes, and just enjoy it. It's so good. It's so amazing. And I'm telling you, if this had 3 seasons, somewhere between 3 and say 7 or 8 seasons, and they had stayed consistently good, if we'd gotten to know all the characters really, really well, and we'd had a good resolution to the story, this would probably sit atop my favorite television show list of all time. It's so loaded with great potential. And it's loaded with a great, well, I've mentioned the cast. I don't want to go through all the characters and actors and stuff. can't really come up with all the names right now. Morena Baccarin, who plays Anara, was amazing. She's gorgeous, and she was a great actress. Adam Baldwin plays Jane Cobb, and he's a great character. But there's so many of them in there who were great, alongside Nathan Fillion as Malcolm Reynolds. But another thing that stands out about this show is its soundtrack. It's all done with like acoustic guitar, like country western, not country western, but acoustic western guitar. It's not all singing stuff. The theme song is singing, and the lyrics are great, so perfect and appropriate for the show. But the soundtrack itself is just amazing, and that's another great thing. A lot of people will say that about movies and TV shows and video games too. A soundtrack can make or break an experience, and Firefly's soundtrack made it so perfect, so immersive. It's just like slipping on a cozy pair of slippers or something like that. There's my wonderful analogy. But anyway, that's about all I can say about Firefly. I can't recommend this more. I can't just appeal any more to it than just to say this is cheap. Go find it, go get it, enjoy it, and then commiserate with the rest of us over how little we got of this masterpiece. I also want to mention, and I haven't got to watch it yet, but I'm going to try to watch this fan documentary that was called Done the Impossible, and it had a lot to do with the campaign that was to try to bring the show back in some way, which yielded the movie and the release of the DVD so that the fans could show their appreciation and support for the show by buying it. But that's another thing to look for out there. I know it's on Netflix, and you can buy the DVD on Amazon. And as soon as I watch that, I'll be doing a vlog about that. So stay tuned for that sometime in the near future. Also stay tuned for my next TV show one, because I plan on filming it as soon as I'm done with this one. And it's another Nathan Fillion classic. So I'll see you in that next one. Thanks for watching.